Good afternoon, Houston. Welcome to miniGeology again. We're back on the air on KPFT Houston 90.1 FM, and you're hearing us on HD2. We're glad to be back, and we have Daniel back. Daniel, how are you?
Muy bien. Here we go, finally, together. And here we are with another show of miniGeology, and now we switch chairs.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. Daniel was this, I came back, and Patricio Desjardins here, Daniel's friend, and Daniel put me on control, so I'm in front of all these red buttons. Red means hot, he says, so that means something good. So yeah, I'm in control, I guess, so I can decide to listen to music if I want all.
Yes.
Just leave it like that. Put the music down, bring it down. Thank you, Daniel. This is very...
Yeah.
Looks easy, but it's not. Many controls here.
Isn't that cool? Technology of the 70s.
Yeah.
Still functioning.
It's still functioning, and why not? Why not?
So that's super to have you here, Patricia, and it's fantastic that we are here in the studio together, chatting in here with a miniGeology show, just chatting about the miniGeology show itself.
Yeah. What a great show, What a great show. What a great idea. How nice would it be if people call us about and tell us about the show?
Exactly. So call us. So today is a show that is going to be about the show itself. It's a meta show. We're going to talk about ourselves, looking at our own belly button, and decide how to reshape this show together with you. And to do that, first of all, telephone number.
Telephone number 713-526-8737. That is 713-526-8737.
Yeah, it was pretty weird how you said it before.
I know. I remember my father used to remember our telephone number and this weird combination number 234-562-14.
Don't call that.
No, don't call that.
So call 713-526-8737. And if you are listening from outside United States, you add a +1, and then 713 for Texas, and 526 for Montrose in Houston, and 8737 is going to reach us here in the studios, HD2 studio of KPFT.
That's great. Here, and we're waiting you with technologies from the 70s, still working. And what about in geology? Does technology from the 70s work in geology, miniGeology, Daniel?
I mean, I'm a product of the 70s.
So it still works.
I still working. You're right. I think that
the other day, I was with a friend. I was telling him, I'm going to go and look at rocks. I'm describing some course, and he said, but do you guys still look at rocks? With the technology, but with all the technology you have, you still need to actually go and see it.
He meant your eyes?
That
old technology.
That old technology. You're still using your eyes? Yeah, I'm still using my eyes to look at rocks.
Oh, man. It's fading away. Geology is fading away from our professions. Help! Help! Please call! Call and tell us that there's a place where you are working or studying where you still look at rocks.
Remember, 713-526-8737. Yes, because it's so important. I have so many mentors, professors, inspirations. Most of them, they were people that actually, they were loyal to the rock itself. I mean, go using your hand lens, making observations, and there is these cliche phrases, but they're still valid. Rocks don't lie. Listen to the rocks. But at the end, you need them. If you want to calibrate with anything,
the bedrock.
You need to.
How was it? Only the geologist knows why the bedrocks.
The bedrock. Oh my God. Daniel. But
and this is a program that is hosted within KPFT, which is a community radio in Houston, Texas. So because of that, we have to say that the radio, as well as the program, has no kind of commercial support from anywhere, from anybody. There is also no manipulation of the information. The information arrives raw from us to you, and there are no cookies following you like many other devices that you are using right now. And therefore the news and the topics that we cover, they are diverse. And I would say there's also no augmented reality, which is another thing that you were talking about, like people that they're describing the rocks now, they like this augmented reality. And how do you call it also? Enhance,
or I don't know. Yeah, I think it's, we can say enhance, automated. So what I'm seeing is maybe a machine does it, because the machine does it should be better than you, because the machine will do it again the same way, but doesn't mean that
I
it's
think
better.
that there's also this other sentence that people, they say, oh yes, you have a core and you have 5 geologists, I'm going to describe it in 5 different ways.
Yeah, you could. They will describe. There will be subtle differences, but if they are looking at the same rocks and they have the same classification, sometimes let me take this back. Sometimes what happens is, the 5 geologists are looking at the rocks, but they're using different classifications to describe the same rock. And sometimes you see all that may disconnect. All the geologists describe the rock in different ways, but no, look, I'm using this classification where I call it the marlstone, and you're using this one, you're calling it calcareous mudstone, and but at the end, but if you know what classification to use and you explain always, it's well explained what are you using, you should be straightforward.
Anyhow, we are open to diverse point of views.
Yes.
Like in here in the radio and at miniGeology, we are all inclusive, and you are all invited. We've been trying to invite all sort of people in here, from professionals to academics to students, teachers, unemployed, minorities, all genders, and that is a characteristic of miniGeology, and above all KPFT, that is hosting this radio program. So if you want to tell us something about how to move on the methodology, on how to do this radio show, or on the content, call right now to 713-526-8737. I tell you again, 713-526-8737, including if you want to change the format, because right now everybody has an iPhone, not me, but you could we could go live with Facebook Live or with YouTube Live, or we could take pictures about ourselves with Instagram, or tweet you every 5 minutes while we are here in the studio. So I haven't done that because I was in love with this medium that is the radio, but I'm ready to change if you call and you want to tell us your opinion.
So Daniel, tell me about the radio program. So when did it start? You remember?
So this right now is the episode 43. So it means that we have gone live for 43 times. So that makes it almost a year, but it's more than a year that we are on the air, because the very first shows, the very first 4 to 5 shows, they occur once a month instead of once a week. And that was more than a year ago, and we were on FM, on the dial, on the 90.1, so everybody driving a car could listen to us, an old car of the 70s could listen with the old radio. Then I was proposed by the general manager at KPFT to do it every week, because if you do it a show only once a month, people are not going to remember when is it exactly, what hour, which day. Instead, now we go on Tuesdays at 5 p.m. every Tuesday, miniGeology is on HD2 channel. So I moved from FM 90.1 to the high definition radio, which if you think is something like people that were saying in the 50s, we are going to move from, or in the 40s, we're going to move from the AM to the FM, where everybody was very well trained to listen to the radio with AM. So today we are moving from the FM to the HD, and this is also a bet. So let's see what happens in 10 years down the road.
Yeah, so who knows? Maybe we'll go back to AM. Yeah.
For sure, tomorrow we'll wake up at AM.
Yeah, that will happen. Yeah.
So again, telephone number 713-526-8737. 713-526-8737. Call us, and you are going to have the wonderful voice of Patricio Desjardins welcoming you, and me also, Daniel Minisini. I'm waiting for your call. A very important thing is to be here. Even if people they're not listening that much, or they're listening and they don't call, the important thing is to be here. That is one of the most important things that Ray Hill taught me when I decided to have this program. Ray Hill is one of the founders of KPFT, still alive, and well-rounded person that he taught me this thing. Be at the radio station is 90% of your program. So show up.
Show up. And you are here, Daniel. So, and you are back from vacations, I know. So, and you brought a lot of ideas, I guess. Okay, you have all this time to think about what to do in miniGeology. So, but yeah, we'd love to hear from the people that have been listening to Geology, or is a new listener. Please tell us what you would like us to discuss in the program.
Yes, or you guests that you have been here, because for 43 times I've been somebody here with me, discussing with me. I remember a couple of times where I made a show just by myself. One of those was about the etymology of the words related to geology. And I talk about the myths, the Greek myths, and all of the etymology related to Greek and Latin. Yep.
Yeah. So and then the format has been basically or with a guest and a full hour interview of that particular guest, or.
That is what I've been doing lately, but at the very beginning, when we had a general audience, the format was a little bit different, because talking in the FM, talking with all the people that are mainly non-geologists, they don't care that much about the going in depth into geology. So the very first shows, they had 4 different parts. The first one was kind of an op-ed, an editorial, something that I said to start the program. And then we had a guest for 20 minutes, half an hour. Then we had somebody calling in from outside of this aquarium, this box. So because I would like to keep the show international, or not just Houston-centric.
Yeah.
So having people calling in from abroad or from other states. And then at the very end, the callers, because the important thing in a community radio like this one is callers, so give priority to callers. So if you call, we're going to stop talking and we're going to talk with you. And if you call at 713-526-8737, we are going to talk with you. 713-526-8737. And the second most important thing is the fundraising. Even though we have never ever talked about this in miniGeology, is one of the keystones of the radio, KPFT, because it's commercial free and listener supported. So it's only people like you listening right now that you give $10 a month, or once in a blue moon you give $1,000 if you have deep pockets. That is how the radio stays on and allow us to emit these radio waves. It costs the radio $150 per hour.
Wow.
So That is a very important thing. Priority to callers and whoever can do something for fundraising. Said this thing, we have to say that again, we are not selling anything, and we are free of advertisement. And therefore, as a consequence, we're not trying to talk about arguments that capture the vast audience. And I was talking about the vast audience because the very first talks they were in FM, so we need to talk to layman. But right now that we are in HD and we are selling anything, we can talk with niches.
Yeah.
And therefore we can talk more in depth on the topics related to geology, and that is why I generally had a guest probably talking with him for 40 minutes.
Yeah, and then something I like about your programs, Daniel, is that then let's say I miss one program, then I can go to miniGeology in YouTube and I can, I have the history and there was a topic that I missed and or to revisit. Let's say in the future you give debates, okay, particular put a topic and you do a debate, and it's recorded, and then you can go back and listen to the debate, and
of course that is very well said. I have to remind you that all the shows, they are recorded and they are stored into a YouTube channel, which is minigeology.com. I would really like to have a very nice and fancy web page, but I don't have the skills and the time to stay behind that. If you are one of those webmasters and you want to help, just come call me at 713-526-8737, and we're going to open the door in here and tell you the passwords to go to the YouTube channel and create a nice web page.
So Daniel, let me ask you something. What's new in geology? Something new, like any new books, any new geology movie, or anything like that that have come out recently?
I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, all the time.
Well, there are things that they happen, especially after the Macondo disaster, and movies coming out of that, and more interesting to trying to prevent pollution from the oil and gas companies. There is also a lot of debate around the hydrofracking that began being on the front pages, let's say, in the last less than 10 years. Yeah. So there are a lot of books on that. I remember one by Oxford Press, What You Need to Know About Fracking, Hydrofracking. And the debate is hot, a little bit, because it's politicized. It's a good argument that you can twist one way or the other one. Being technical is difficult to take sides, because you know all the data that are around you, and many times your decision is moral, is something that is a pillar of your existence, the decisions that you take, the position that you want to take on that. So for technical people, sometimes it's difficult, even though sometimes you have to do it and you have to demonstrate what you believe in. So in here we would like to have people that they debate on these hot topics related to geology, including the paleoclimate or the actual climate change, and having different points of view without taking the CNN approach, in which 99% they believe in one thing, but there's a 1% that doesn't believe in that thing, and so you have to listen to that as well. Yeah. Well, we have also to be careful in what we say, because that 1% would represent a minority. So take it with a grain of salt what I just said. But we're opening here to listen to everybody, and here we are beasts in KPFT. If you come in here, you're gonna see that there are all sort of animals. I'm one of those, and we listen to each other, and we call our sisters, we are 5 siblings in the radio. We call it Pacifica Network. So as you well know, the root of Pacifica is peace, and we have to talk with each other. We are very, very different in here at KPFT, and we debate a lot. There are like two different factions that they are fighting one against the other, like in many families or communities, and we have to listen to each other. So everybody's welcome to come in here. And if you come in here and you express your opinions that represent 1% of the other opinion, you're also welcome. And we're going to find somebody else that is going to be able to debate with you.
Yeah, and it will be great to hear from you guys listening to the radio. 713-526-8737.
713-526-8737. And why it is important to talk about geology? This is maybe something that I had to say at the very beginning, the historical perspective. And geology, obviously, willy-nilly, is intimately related with oil and gas here in Houston. Even though there are many environmentalists, it's very important the educational side of earth sciences. But the search for oil began in the 19th century. The first drills were made in Azerbaijan, but also in the United States. So this is very important to remember that. This intense search for a substance that would be one of the most important energy sources was based on skill as well as luck. So remember, merits and luck, like for all of us. A little bit of merit is a little bit of luck. So, and this resulted in knowledge, the knowledge of the geology and in the development of prospecting and exploration technologies. So the increasing demand for oil generated greater expertise in geology. And that is why geology kind of exploded like a supernova in the 150 years ago, because then the geology, which was done just by aristocratic people that they like to collect fossils, then the geology was disseminating a lot of disciplines like micropaleontology, stratigraphy, and sedimentology, and then geochemistry, etc. And so this informed other disciplines such as geophysics, for instance. And here in Houston is also very important because of the connection between geology of the hard rocks and the geophysics of the reflectors that they are captured by the geophysical tools underneath our feet. So unquestionably, beyond the exclusively scientific and technological aspects, an industry like the one I was talking about, the oil and gas, that grew to such size, impacted with the political aspect, with the economic aspect, with society, with the culture, and of course with the environmental aspect, and even with diplomacy and the geopolitics of all the history of this last almost 200 years. So this is why we are in here at miniGeology talking about geology. This is why we are trying to talk with geologists, but also with non-geologists, to professionals and to laymen about the importance of such an important industry that is based on the geology. Because this industry and all the things that are around it is affecting our lives, even if we don't know it. The geopolitics, just think about today this pipeline going from Russia to Germany. The President of the United States talking about it. Just think about the culture that comes with the literature and movies and books written around it, and above all the lobbies that they go to the congresses all around the world and try to convince people to change the laws and therefore to change the quality of the life of the people in better or in worse, but certainly related to this kind of industry, as well as all the discoveries, the technological discoveries that you can apply not just to extract these hydrocarbons, but also some other mineral or liquid. So very important to understand where all of this comes from.
Yeah, and it's interesting, I moved here to Houston, from a place that geology is not as popular, and actually when I go back home and I will say people, I'm a geologist, they're really, so what you do? What what? What do you do? What do you do? Geology? Oh no, and then coming here to Houston, when a geologist is a respected member of society, which that the people know what that person does. If he works in oil industry, if he works in environmental, a professor, and even is a little more, I would say, incorporated into class into education, the geology.
Yeah, it's kind of the idea of a lawyer or an engineer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because when my classmates were growing up, what are you going to be? No, I'm going to be accountant, lawyer, doctor, and engineer. That was like the four big careers, and then I chose, I want to be a geologist, and they look at me and they say, what? And actually my mom put me in that direction. I was like, Mom, I'm going to be a geographer. And he said, no, Patricio, a geographer, you're going to be a teacher in a school, be a geologist. A geologist. And I was like, a geo what? A geologist. Go, study that. And then
how comes that she knew about geology?
Because my mother is a geographer. So she has been, and so she knows, she has a little more connection with the geosciences, and she said, no, you'll be able to find a job in geology. In geography, you'll be a teacher. It's harder. It's not that there are no jobs in geography, we know all the cartographers and all, how important that part is. But he said, go into geology, and then that was where I found my passion. And then, without knowing what geology was, I went to geology school, and in there I discovered my passion. That was stratigraphy and deep time and getting into the brain of the geology. I really enjoy how geology changed my way to perceive the world, and understand the world from the different perspective of time, and I could use and how it allows me to use my creativity.
Yes, thank you to say that. I feel so alone when I think about these things, especially when I'm not in Houston, where there are a lot of geologists. But in fact, I think that one of the most difficult things to be on Earth is to be the partner of a geologist.
Yes.
So if I just think about my wife and the headaches that she had to try to understand me because I am a geologist, that's tough.
That's hard because my wife too. I would say she's more into the more chemistry, biology oriented. So she's like, okay, let's do she's more used to experiments and seeing a chemical reaction happening. And for me, like I don't have a laboratory I can reproduce things at a scale of time that geology requires. We need, can you have 1 million years? No, I don't have 1 million years to do the experiment.
Well, that thing that you just mentioned, the philosophy of science, especially the philosophy of earth science, would be something that I really like to debate on in the radio. Even though I know I would lose also the geologists, that they don't really follow that subdiscipline. But talking about how the geologists, they approach science, that is something that I put online and interviewing Vic Baker, and the difference between the way in which we reason by induction or deduction or serendipity, and the kind of approach we have to a problem. And those things, they would nicely fall into one show where we could talk with somebody that is expert on these topics, and we could have a very interesting talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. And how is in a lot of cases, in geology is, sometimes before seeing the data, we try to imagine what could have happened and what could it be. We have a lot of forward thinking, in predicting things in geology, and it happens a lot when before we drill wells. You know, we kind of looking for something, and then but we don't really have much information about it, and but we can really formulate an hypothesis based of what we know around it and make a prediction.
So this kind of mindset is important also for the educational system, because you need earth scientists to explain to the students whose soft brain is a sponge, allow them to understand there's a different mindset where you could approach a problem that has multiple solutions. You don't need to force the kid to find one solution. You could force him or ask him to find the best solution for him or the best solution for his parents. And therefore the kid would have a different approach to a problem. And also another important thing related to the mindset that you were talking about, associated with the professionals in that case, is the being able and courageous, bold enough to try to say, yes, I'm going to solve this problem even though I don't have data enough, even if I don't have information enough to solve it properly. I'm not going to say, oh, I'm sorry, no, this can't be solved. Oh, I can't do it. No, I will try to do my best with the things that I have. This is another kind of mindset that the earth scientists, geologists, they bring with them.
Yeah, so the word we use a lot at work, you know, uncertainty and dealing with uncertainty and managing uncertainties and feeling comfortable with them. And that's how we...
Yeah.
That's, you know, we need to learn to live with that.
And the nice parallel with this is that if we had a geologist in Congress, he would certainly deal with the uncertainties of the society better than the other non-geologists, because like nature give us too many uncontrolled parameters that we cannot understand. The same is society. Society is so unpredictable. Even though you may have a lot of discipline studying how society behaves, well, the reason why society, this discipline study why society behave or misbehave is because it's not easy. Yeah. It's not intuitive to understand. So also in this case, I think that the role and the mindset of the geologist would be very well used within society. If some of you that you're listening, you could candidate yourself in the next elections, I would vote you. Yeah. And call us at 713-526-8737, 713-526-8737. I hope some of you are listening to there. Please call us just to check that somebody is listening on the other side of the radio.
You'll make our day if you do. Yeah, but that's so. Daniel, what was do you have a favorite program, a favorite that you had?
What do you mean by favorite program?
I mean, not a program, but one of your 43 programs of miniGeology in the radio. Is one that stands out to you, or like?
I remember when I call in a doctor.
Okay. He was a geology doctor, rock doctor? Or?
No, just a doctor.
Yeah.
Dear friend Mauro Ferrari from Italy, one of the president of these many hospitals that we have here in Houston, and he came and he gave such an inspirational talk, not really giving a talk, but talking with me. I felt that he was so inspirational. I remember he said, there are no shortcuts.
Yeah.
If you want to do something well, there are no shortcuts.
No shortcuts.
It's like a marathon. If you want to run, you have to train.
Yeah.
There are no shortcuts. And another thing he said was, when you have your mission and you know what you want to do, glow in the dark.
Yeah.
So be there in a space that is dark and glow so that the others, they can see what you are, they can see what you do, and they can use it.
Okay.
And that
That's
was
so inspirational,
fantastic.
no? That's so important.
Yes.
I like the glow in the dark. That's
You can tell it to everybody.
everybody.
Every whoever,
Yeah.
different age, nationality,
Um,
profession.
Is he from your same town in Italy, or
Almost.
Almost,
Well, actually, that is that is why I invited, because when I came here a long time ago, I came with a little piece, a couple of suitcases, and then a little piece of a newspaper,
yeah?
which a very good friend of mine cut for me, and there were 4 or 5 Italians that they were successful around the globe, and Mauro Ferrari was one of those, and so I took him here because that was the only one living in Houston, and I went and I seek him. I was trying to find him, and I was ringing at the bells and the doors of Houston until I found him. And I found him, and he listened to me. And I said, "Look, what I have in here. This is you in a newspaper, and I came here. I know you did it. I can also do it. I can be successful in here in another country, in America."
Yeah.
Well, so years later, when I had this radio show, I decided to call him, and also because he was not only from Italy but from Friuli, which is the northeasternmost region of Italy, the only one with 100% of the territory is covered with vineyards.
Bene. So outcrops, no, bene. Okay.
Yeah. So that was a very good one. But then we have all sort of professionals coming here from the AAPG president, the American Association of Petroleum Geologists, to the executive director of the AGI, the American Geosciences Institute, which puts together 52 associations under the same umbrella. So if you are an earth scientist or a professional related to geology, your association that you belong to certainly falls into this umbrella. And then we had researchers talking about history of resources in the United States, in Australia, in Italy, in Mexico. We have students. That was another important thing. I would really like to have students in here once a month at least, and giving an open mic to them so that they could say whatever they want. We had students from Houston, University of Houston. We have students from Rice University, from UT in Austin. I met students in the middle of the Patagonia in Argentina, one from Brazil, one from Korea, one from China, another one from Argentina.
Wait. In the Patagonia of Argentina?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I met them there, and I interviewed them. We made a show from there, from this little tiny village where we were sleeping in a cabaña, and we had an iPhone. They had one, and we put it in the middle of the table. We start chatting, we recorded, and then I put it on.
Wow. So I guess they were looking at rocks.
They were obviously looking
Oh,
at
okay.
beautiful outcrops in the Andes.
Yeah. What a fantastic thing the outcrops are. I remember, when I was just starting in geology, and a professor asked me, okay, what's the best way to see, or what's to see and to study and see, to see and study. He said, see and study the interior of the earth. So I said, okay, I had to take a course, sample, dig a trench. He said, no, just go to the mountains. Everything has been popped up. If you want to see the interior of the earth, just go to the mountain. This is there for you.
Yeah, and how many weird stories they happen to us going out there in the middle of nothing. That is way better. I mean, because of that, because I am a geologist and I love to go to the field, and I would say that I'm a field geologist, I almost cannot do tourism in the classic meaning of tourism. I can't go places with the mindset of general average tourists.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Some outcrop, has to be there, or some scuba diving in coral reef.
When you're an average tourist, or you have the mindset of the general tourist, and you have to pay humongous quantity of money to see a nice landscape and placing yourself in the best spot for that landscape, and then we go for free or even paid to be in the same spot, even better because there's no anthropic signature in there. That is amazing. That is something that. Yeah.
Let me tell you a short story about tourism, geology, and what you mentioned. So, I did my PhD in Canada, in the Canadian Rockies. Okay, and the Canadian Rockies is a very popular touristic places in Banff National Park. There's some lakes, turquoise with the glacier in the back. Lake O'Hara, Lake Louise, Moraine Lake. You have seen them in pictures. They're everywhere.
Cold.
No, yeah, sometimes. But so these were like very touristic places, and guess what? The rocks I wanted to study were there. So I had to go to all these places, be able to camp longer than anybody else because I have a special permit. I could go off trail because I have a special permit, and in this beautiful place, man. And at the end of the touristic traffic, sometimes was a little bit too much, but it was easy to get away, and you get to see, and you get to be outside and get to travel the world too.
I see. So, and then other important shows that I had is, you can look at them in the minigeology.com, which there's a list of them. And I also had the head of the Department of Earth Sciences at Rice. So he brought in the perspectives of the academics and the will to connect everything with industry, with NASA, at least here in Houston. Then what else do you see in there, Patricio? Tell me something that I haven't mentioned.
Tell me about the trilobites that are trying to sue you. I said trilobites with a lawyer.
Man,
I thought they were extinct.
Yes, trilobites. Can you imagine that those little animals, they attract a very important and rich lawyer, and they kind of put a spell on him. And
they have those antennas,
Yes. So Mr. Stubb, he was here sitting in the chair where I'm sitting right now, and he invests quite a lot of his fortune in this trilobite, not only buying some of them like we all can do, but also pushing the artisans that they are cleaning the rocks that have inside the trilobites to do it properly.
Wow.
And so he knows pretty well who are the best artisans. Some of them in the United States, many of them in Russia, related to the outcrops that they have trilobites. And so that was a very important thing to say, that geology may be seen from different perspectives, especially from this one, from a lawyer perspective, which was looking at the intricacy of the environment where these trilobites were living in the deep time, and so the conceptual issues that they come with looking at such a beautiful fossil that is a trilobite.
Yeah, I really liked when spend some time with the trilobites here in the Natural Science Museum in Houston. It's amazing.
Those trilobites, they are his.
No.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
He had the best trilobites in the world, and at some point, it's always the same problem. His wife didn't allow him to have those stones at home, and so he had so many, so beautiful, and he donated them to the Museum of Natural History of Houston, with the condition that they always had to be shown, not to be put in the storage room.
Like in a drawer,
Exactly. So if you go there and you read the label, it's gonna be written donation of Mr. Staub.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's really beautiful.
SQBB. Yes.
And how they have it arranged by geologic period, and then there's one particular ones I like. It's like the ontogenesis of them. Like they are all this very small one, the same species, to a large one, but through kind of they have it like in a spiral circle.
Yep.
And just kind of growing.
But amazing the way in which they carve out those fossils.
Yeah.
What else? What else do we have in there in the previous shows that you are seeing in minigeology.com?
Well, here history of oil, inclusiveness. So etymology, the carbon cycle.
Yeah.
Problems. What do you discuss with the carbon cycle?
Yeah, because Rice University once invited me to talk about the in a conference of carbon cycle. Before doing that, I had the luxury to talk with Cinti Lee, who put together this beautiful conference about the carbon cycle. So there were different people approaching the carbon cycle, the short cycle, the long cycle, the emissions in the air, the emission of the CO2 in the storage underneath our feet. And so we talked with the head of the department at Rice University about this. We also had a couple of shows talking about the market, which is something important as well. One talk from former EVP of Statoil, Bill Maloney, and then another one from New York Columbia University, Antoine, who's a French professor over there, that they taught us about what's going on in the market and how important are the resources that they come from the earth in affecting the market, and therefore our wallets, our pension plans, and the kind of job that we have, the perspective of having a job for our kids, etc. Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting. The job for our kids, do I recommend my kid to be a geologist? Will it be job for geology in the future?
Well, that would be another complete show, talking about what would you suggest to study to a student that is going to college for the first year now. So what do you expect to find in 6, 7 years, 10 years time?
Because there are different approaches to that. No, they are they're more maybe pragmatic. Say, okay, lawyers, they're just for lawyers. Outside lawyer, I'll be a lawyer, but really, is that your passion? I always recommend to just follow your passion, or maybe you'll find it, as I did.
Well, but I think that you say that because you, as well as I, are passionate about geology.
Yeah.
But in the Mediterranean Sea, maybe also in South America, when you study geology, you are you have a naturalistic mind. You're a mountaineer. You like to hike. You like nature, and there is the reason why you study geology. Maybe where I come from, also many couldn't enter into the School of Engineers, and so they went as a second choice to geology. But certainly, these are not the places where you and I come from, that the choice of being a geologist is dictated by the wallet, the money, the perspective of a career. Instead, for my understanding, in the United States, and you let me know if in Canada is the same because you have been living in there for a while, there is a different concept. You go and you study geology as you go and you study law or economics because you want to have a very good, profitable career. There are exceptions in on the east and west coast, maybe, but not necessarily. I think that this is a completely different concept on the approach to earth sciences by the youngsters in North America.
Yeah, definitely. In Canada, I remember when I was a TA there, and I was, I had like young students it was 2008 maybe 2007, and it was kind of, they were all going, starting first stage, just thinking about, I need to finish it quick because I will have a job immediately after. When I'm 22, I will have a job already, and in Calgary or drilling wells up in somewhere, and but they were already thinking, with 18 years old, well, when I'm 22, I'm going to have a job, in the oil industry. And for me, it was like, when I was 18, I didn't know anything what I wanted to do in the future.
Yeah. I think that our approach was way more poetic.
Yeah.
And that is why we would need somebody here to be way more pragmatic. So if you are listening, call 713-526-8737. 713-526-8737. Patricia, try to call you, please. Maybe there's something wrong with the line. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say some topics that I received through emails or that I wrote myself that could be developed in the following shows. So people ask about books on geology like you did. I don't know about the very new for laymen, but there are a couple of them, like The Mountains of St. Francis. Written by Walter Alvarez, the one who discovered the KT boundary in Italy, related to the iridium-osmium ratio in Gola del Furlo in central Italy. And then also a very thick book written by McAfee, an author that wrote a book about the geology of the entire United States, following the suggestions of professors that he was meeting on his trip. He was asking questions, and he said, how comes are the coastal ranges here? And, you have to go and ask that professor. And he did it. And then, what about these deltas in here? And then other topics could be, obviously climate change. That is something that, or at least paleoclimate, to be addressed. Geology and wine. Yeah, geology and wine. The geology and wine.
So let's talk about this for 1 second. So people is telling me that are just myths. They don't the geology doesn't affect the wine. Is that
the geology?
It does not affect the wine.
Doesn't affect the wine? Oh, my God.
I was like this, and no, that's all the myth. No, man.
I think that there were like two friends like ours in France that both of them, they like wine, and both of them, they were passionate about geology. And they say, look, these wines, they come from the same grape. They were collected the same year, in the same barrel. Well, two different barrels, but made by the same wood, and they taste different. Well, it came out that they were collected from plants that they were in regions that they were different, and they had a different soil, a different terrain, different dirt. And then they came up with this idea of the terroirs. Of course, now this is very well known, that the same wine from different terroirs, it has different flavor.
Okay.
So for sure, the geology affects your bottle of wine.
Perfect. I was worried about because that's another one, another line of job maybe, just tasting one and relating to geology, doing experiments,
Yeah. Even though I think that they say that only 25% of us they have that mouth that can understand all of the different flavors of the wine. I don't know if I'm in that lucky.
Yeah, I don't know, because last time, we had like a wine tasting with my friends, and they brought all these different wines. They covered them and had to taste them to see what's better. And for me, the best was the cheaper ones, because I'm used to cheap wine, I guess. I didn't understand the complex flavors.
It was the one with Coca-Cola inside.
That's the one I like.
Other couple of topics, and I think you should agree with this one, the geology in deep time.
Oh, of course.
Explaining how do we know that the Earth is so old. Another one, I like this one, but it's more about geography. But anyhow, geology in the shape of the borders, like the border Argentina, Chile, or Mexico, United States.
Yeah.
On the river one, the other one on the edge of a crest.
Yeah.
All the borders of the states of United States. if they are not artificial, they're related to nature, and even if they're artificial, they're related to climate.
Yeah.
Anyhow, geology and history, or how geology affects his very historical facts, like the defeat of Napoleon, related to an explosion of a volcano. And then medical geology. Medical geology, all of the minerals that we have in our blood. That's another thing.
Yeah.
So many topics that could be
We
touched.
develop, and
Yeah.
or maybe if you pick up the phone and dial 713
526
8737. What's that? 37. Last chance.
713-526-8737. We're almost there.
How nice will it be to hear another voice beside ours for the listeners, actually.
Yeah, I think something's wrong with this technology of the 70s. Probably
I
it
told you,
broke
man,
down. That's the reason why.
Yeah.
Anyhow, this was miniGeology radio show. If you are shy and you don't want to call, you can write us at minigeology@gmail.com. You can tweet hashtag minigeology. There should be a Facebook page floating in the air, also /minigeology. You can read a lot about this project if you Google miniGeology and Rice University, which give us a web page within their web page. And also you have the YouTube channel, minigeology.com, where you can find all the previous shows, as well as many interviews with key geologists, very important geologists, the most important geologists, where I try to capture their mindset. So that's all for now. Thank you very much, Pato, to be here with us. I hope you can come more often.
Thank you, Daniel, for inviting us. And this was KPFT Houston 90.1 FM, listening us on HD2. Thank you very much.
Acábalo de romper. Rompe duro ese tambor abreu. Acábalo de romper. Que ya esa tiene peso y medio. Mandarlo a componer. Ay, ahora tú eras muchacho, ahora tú eras muchacho, ahora tú eras muchacho, ahora tú eras, epa, muchacho. Oye, si yo doy un LS, vi para allá, o chambi vamos para allá. Moví un solo, si yo doy un LS, vi para allá, chami vamos para allá, ahí na huesa mo van choro, ahí na su día,